Welcome back to HR Baddies. This is where HR gets smart, strategic, and a little bit sassy. I'm your host, Katie Garcia, and today we're doing something bold and something different. We are not fixing culture. We are not coaching managers. We are going to flip the mirror and look at ourselves and give HR itself a makeover. Because we're still running HR in today's world like it's 2010. There's manual processes, there's reactive fire drills, there's the we don't have the bandwidth excuses. And with all of that, HR can't be strategic, which is what is needed in 2025. So let's talk about what a modern HR department, modern HR function looks like in 2025 and beyond. Because HR has grown, but there's been no redesign. There's a mix of being the compliance cop, the therapist, the firefighter, all the emergency response is what HR has become when it's also called to be strategic. Everything feels urgent because nothing is prioritized. There's not one sole focus of strategy that we're working into. It's very hard to get to a place that you're totally out of the firefighting and into the strategy. But the executives at a company, they want strategic HR, but they're only going to fund the administrative headcount, only the administrative HR, the generalists, the business partners, the payroll, whatever it may be. And HR teams, because of that, are burnt out. They're measured by activity and not impact. So you can look at, from the lens of HR, you can look at metrics. Hey, let's pick turnover. Look at this one department has X amount of turnover. There's 40 people that have turned over this year, maybe. That's a very high number. Maybe it's a low number for you, but it's a pretty high number. Okay. But we're not looking at the impact. If HR was able to kind of map out and look at some of the metrics behind the scenes, they would have caught that way earlier. They would have said, hey, we've had 3 people, 4 people, 5 people exit this department. Let's see what's going on. And they would have been able to look at what the problem is, diagnose what the problem is, and likely implement some type of solution to help fix the problem. So looking at HR modernization, a lot of it's going to be workflow. A lot of it's going to be, hey, now our onboarding takes a lot less time. So we have a little bit more time to focus on talent strategy. There's a give to get in a lot of this. And so being able to move through the steps of how we can get out of traditional HR and into strategic HR is what we're going to talk about. Because HR exists to create capacity for business growth through people systems. That's a great definition for what HR is. Instead of HR becoming a support function, it needs to move to become a business infrastructure. It's part of the roadways of how people are transferring in and out of departments, upward mobility within the organization. There's all these great things that HR can be a part of and help to facilitate and set up and foster and grow that will align the mission statements of the company to business outcomes. Because what does everybody want? Retention, time and productivity, leader readiness. These are all things that HR has the ability to really take on and really spearhead. Along with that, they're going to be taking what HR used to own and move it to what HR is actually going to be able to deliver. So think of it like a service catalog, right? So you can tell the stakeholders, hey, here's what HR owns and here's what we deliver on. Because when people know what HR does and HR can do it well, then HR will stop being viewed as a firefighter team or as a complaint desk. We're going to move more into that field of strategy, which is where HR is the most impactful. The next thing we have to talk about, so redefining what HR's purpose is, step 1. Step 2, restructure HR for scalability. Designing your roles around expertise, employee relations, talent, learning and development, total rewards, HRIS, recruiting. There's all these different fields instead of just having a bunch of HR generalists and a bunch of business partners. moving to something, an idea of a center of excellence, shared services, okay, for repetitive tasks. Not everybody needs to know everything. You just need to get the people that need to know stuff to the right area. So making sure that there's an understanding of who handles what will help tremendously, especially for managers, because they'll know directly where to go or where to send people to get the answers that they need. If somebody's going to ask a question about open enrollment, you're going to send them over to the rewards department. You're not going to send them to employee relations. You're not going to send them to learning and development. You're not going to send them to the HRIS analysts. There's knowing where people can go is going to solve a lot of the problems as well. And moving to that shared service model will help too, because those people will know their lane so well. They're not going to need to say, hey, let me get back to you. They're not going to let emails pile up because it's going to be like, hey, this comes in, boom, answer, right back out. This came in, handle it. Get this to where it needs to go. It's going to move things through quicker, which will then keep people moving in a faster cycle. In addition to that, maybe you're too small to have individual departments for all of these. This is where you can look into super awesome things like outsourcing. There's a lot of great opportunities right now in PEOs. There's a lot of great opportunities offered through different benefit brokers. There's a ton of fractional HR, which is what I do. So I plug in as the pieces that people don't want. Let me take your payroll. Let me take your benefit administration. Let me take on your learning. Maybe you don't have the time to devote to leadership development, but you know you want to work on communication. Call me. I'll come on in. There's these outsourced pieces where it doesn't need to be built from the ground up. The process, the workflow, the person that has the knowledge already exists, and you don't have to give them benefits. You don't have to worry about their PTO time. So you're going to free strategic time by being able to thoughtfully outsource certain transactional work. You're going to be able to empower HR business partners to operate way more like consultants than paper pushers. So instead of having them checking the box on certain things, was this performance plan done? Was this person enrolled in benefits? You're now going to be able to have them work in a consulting capacity within the HR team, for the managers, for their departments, for their different centers. It's going to be much more effective and impactful for your organization to pick up that type of model versus what it is right now. Send it to HR, hire, fire. That's not what HR is anymore. We're here to support those functions of hiring, firing, professional development, but we are not here to boss it around, actually make those decisions. We're here to empower people that need to make those decisions with the metrics, with the ideals, with the data to support it. So you can pilot some of these new models in one division before you're actually ready to scale. But in order to be able to scale, you can't have just a pool of generalists that just know a bunch of crap. It needs to be specialized in who knows what. Maybe when you're smaller, a generalist has to know a little bit of each piece. But as you start to grow, pick up another generalist and cut the role in half. Give half employee relations and talent development go one way. HRIS and rewards and payroll go another way. So decide how it's going to look as you build and add the different pieces in, because that's how it's going to make your company able to scale. So instead of hiring HR generalists to just literally do everything, think about it as if you're hiring HR strategists to do the right things. EOS talks about this, and that's not even HR. EOS talks about having the right person in the right seat. And that's a really great ideal to hold on to as you're looking for this. So step 1, redefine HR's purpose. Step 2, restructure for scalability. What's step 3? Modernize the technology and the metrics. Audit your HR tech stack. What are you doing? What is talking to what? What doesn't talk to what? What feeds information from here to there? Where are you pulling down? Let's use payroll and timekeeping is a really great thing for this, okay? If you're using a system for timekeeping that does not talk to your payroll system, that burden is a lot. And then if your payroll system doesn't talk to your ERP or your finance system, that's a whole nother piece. Those things should all work together. And when you think about it that way, eliminating redundancy, right? How many times you have to type in people's time cards? It should be that the data can pull from one place to the next. It should pull from the time card system where the managers have approved it into the payroll system, where then the payroll team can do the auditing. They can make sure that things were correct. They can make sure all those boxes for compliance are checked. And then once they push go to process that payroll, it then automatically loads it into the finance system. There shouldn't be a reason for somebody to do a 20-line journal entry. They make so many tech stacks that can talk to each other. There can be a ton of integration on the back end. When we talk about integrating systems so the data can flow through, I'm a huge advocate for Paylocity. One, the cost of it is not all that much. Two, it can do almost every single thing that a company with less than 500 employees needs. Okay? Everything from an employee base of 5 to 500, it fits in Paylocity. Why? Because they designed the system themselves. They didn't buy this and buy that and make it try to talk on the back end, which some payroll and HRIS systems have done. Their process for recruiting, it pushes out to multiple job platforms. You put it in one time, it does all the back end pushing out to multiple places. Then it has a whole workflow you can follow for recruiting. It pushes it from this person to that person. You can put things on the back end, notify IT of this, notify the hiring manager of that. All these different pieces that it can do. Its resume parsing from the applicant side is also fantastic. Then from there, you want to hire somebody? Fantastic. You send the offer letter, you send the benefit statements, you send everything through Paylocity. They sign it in just Paylocity right on their phone. They sign it. Then you can push out their background check, I-9, E-Verify. It's all done right there in the app. So it's easy from your side because it's all coming from one place. It's easy from the candidate side because they're only having to go to one place. Then once you push hire, guess what? It puts them right into payroll. It takes all their signed documents that they did in onboarding and it already exists in their employee profile. They also have amazing analytic reports you can put together. And any monkey could make a report in Paylocity. It's very easy to just move headers around and you can pull any data that you want. If you have to do things like OFCCP and reports, it does all that for you. There are stock reports. A lot of the bigger payroll systems don't even have those. There are reports that federally you have to file, but they don't make them. You still have to pull together 15 different Excel files and compile the data together to get the final spreadsheet that you need to submit. So looking at your technology, I cannot tell you how important it is. Tracking then the business aligned KPIs. Don't look at turnover. Look at turnover by leader. Look at time to productivity, internal mobility rates. Where are people going? Where are they coming from? Where are they wanting to get to? Their engagement scores, the cost to rehire, the cost of vacancy, all these different metrics that don't make your CFO go, oh yeah, but what I need is, oh yeah, but can you get me? You want to look at what are the most impactful pieces of data that you can pull. And then decide how you can put those together to paint the picture of the HR strategy that is being implemented. So step 3 is modernize the technology and the metrics. Stop looking at time to fill, okay? That is something that we can look at, but let's dial it in a little bit more because there's much more impactful. Why is the role even open? Did we look at that? Did we pull any data on that? Because looking at those is how things are going to get fixed for moving forward. Step 4, which I will say in this will be the last step, we're going to rebrand HR from the inside out. Beauty comes from within, and that's where this is going to sprout from, okay? Own the narrative, okay? Communication will win in any business language. Communication and numbers, ROI, investment, that all of those pieces, HR needs to own the narrative. What does it cost? Why does it cost it? What are we doing with it? What does the data show us? HR needs to be able to talk through all of those things. Stop talking about synergy and employee experience enablement. Just stop with all of that and let's talk the ROI. What benefit is HR bringing to the table by bringing modern technology, by looking at different metrics, by restructuring and having a center of excellence? What does that look like? And own that business language. Stop talking in these abstract terms and get down to numbers. ROI. What is it? Develop HR team members like you develop leaders. Please. I beg you, let your generalists go attend those SHRM lunches. Let them go to the conferences. Let them submit to professional development as well. A learning and development piece for HR is just as important as it is for leadership, because the evolution of where companies are in 2025 is much different than it was in 2010 or 2000, because the world is in a way different place. Talent is in a different place. People also want that upward mobility. They want to know that their company is putting time, energy, and dollars into their professional development. And then I'll say probably being able to market HR internally, have visible impact, put out case studies, talk about quick wins, because you don't earn a seat at the table by asking for it. You build it and then you send the calendar invite and you're like, hey, we got this table. Who wants to come have a seat? Because I'm already here. Hey, come have this talk with us about ROI. Come have this talk with us about how, hey, this is going to help everything from recruiting straight through finance. There is multiple crossroads for this. It's going to make it smoother communication with IT. It's going to make it easier because it's going to export directly into the ERP system for finance. There's no more going to be manual entry for things. Those are the pieces that you need to focus on and look at. So let's recap the main points real quickly. Purpose, structure, tech, brand. Those are really what they are. Because a modern HR function isn't the department of no. It's the engine that powers how. How do we keep the lights on? How do we build the infrastructure that keeps the business growing? How are we going to push leadership development? How are we going to evolve as a company? Those are the really important conversations that HR needs to be part of. But in order to be part of them, HR also has to own them. And so that's the first piece, is start getting comfortable in that business lingo. You're still going to have to respond to the fires. It's what it is. But start to move it up the ladder to become more of the strategy, more of the developmental focus for the company to get it where it wants and needs to be in 2025. So that's about it for today. I think we talked about a lot, right? We have talked about a lot. So here, HR Baddies, next week, I'm going to drop another episode, and it is going to be influencing without the title. People call it managing up. People call it a lot of different things. But let's talk specifically next week about getting a seat and staying at the table. Because sometimes you have to lead change before you get the title to match it. So let's talk about that from the HR perspective. That is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Make sure you head over to hrbaddies.com and you can sign up to get the feeds for when the new episodes come out, which is every single Wednesday. Make sure you head over to KBG Support and check out all the amazing things that I'm doing there as far as fractional HR goes. I'll see you guys next week.